Hello and welcome to Wealth Health. I'm your host, Terry Dean. In this segment, we're going to be discussing financial considerations for entering the practice of optometry. Joining us are Tom Jerez and Sean Shadwell, certified financial planners and partners with the Premier Planning Group. When starting out, Tom, you have some options. You can either join an existing practice or a major healthcare system. What are some considerations when making that decision?
Yeah, well, I think there's a handful. The first would be regarding your benefits. Typically, if you're working for a smaller business or a private practice, you may or may not have health insurance. It's probably going to be more expensive or maybe not as good as you would find with a bigger company. That can also be true for group benefits, such as life insurance, disability insurance, or even a retirement plan that's offered. Generally, you're going to get better benefits per se with a bigger company because that's obviously a big draw to hiring them. I think the flip side of that, though, is depending on what you're looking to do at a smaller private practice, you may have the opportunity to take over the business. You may be doing more work in terms of what you want to actually be doing versus climbing the corporate ladder. We also see it a lot when people enter private practice or they work for a small business. They really want to learn about the business and how to be a business person versus being a doctor per se. And so obviously you're going to get different experience working for a smaller practice than you would say, a major hospital, et cetera. Sean, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think all those points are very valid and very good. The couple other things is one, your negotiation power for maybe the benefits aren't as good when you go to private practice. So you work on maybe getting a little more vacation. Maybe you are, instead of a W-2 employee, you decide to be a subcontractor to a couple private practices, and therein could be a little more creative with your pay scale and what you get paid. So there are some ways to take advantage on the private practice side versus just going to work at a big health institution where you are a W-2 employee, you have your package, and it's kind of, you get what you get. Whereas you can learn a lot, again, on the business side and where you want to go and develop. Do you want to be more specialized? You can do more of that when you go through the private practice side.
So, of course, Tom, there's always the option to go it alone. What does that look like?
Well, there's obviously a few things you need to consider. I'll spare how do we get clients. I think that's obviously the most important one. But, a few things that people really overlook is how should their business be set up, right? Does it need to be an LLC with what's called an S Corp taxation? If so, there's ways that you can pay yourself to limit your FICA or what's called Medicare and Social Security taxation. The next thing you need to think about is your employees, right? How do you pay them? If someone works, in your shop, for lack of a better term, and they sell eyeglasses, do you pay them commission? Do you pay them a salary? If you pay them both, are they W-2 or 1099? These are all things to take into consideration because for you as a business owner, one, it's going to help you maybe attract or not attract people. And two, it's also going to dictate how much real compensation that you're paying these people. I think the other thing too is, when you're getting started, you're starting a business, a lot of people do not have the money to start their own practice. And so then the question becomes, well, how do we get the money, right? There's certain programs, things like that banks offer where I can, buy equipment or lease a facility or whatever needs to be done there. So those are some of the big things that, I think people really need to be thinking about. Sean, can you expand on any of those thoughts?
Yeah. I'll start with the banking and lending. A lot of times there are specialty lenders for certain parts of optometry. To be specific, one of my clients, when we first started working, she took over a practice. It was very small. She literally fired, I think, the whole staff and started fresh. So it's another thing to remember. You have to be a manager of people if you own your own practice. So how do you interact with people? But she started fresh, and when she was getting equipment, because she wanted to be latest and greatest, cutting edge, she found a lender that specifically lent in the area of medical equipment. So over time, she fell in the COVID stretch here where she was doing some stuff and was able to consolidate some of that to expand her business. But there are specialties out there that you can take advantage of. Also, over her stretch here, she is a dry eye specialist. She goes around the country and speaks on dry eyes and how you can alleviate that pain or stress. So when you go in the private practice as an owner, not only does she have a practice running now where she has doctors and staff to give her the ability to go out and speak to people. So it really can give you flexibility when you're the owner if you want to do different things besides just be the doctor.
Tom, any final thoughts on that?
No, I think Sean hit the nail on the head.
Tom, Sean, thank you for your insight and information. That concludes today's session of Wealth Health, where we take a look at the health of your wealth.